been a first pick for Renegades quite often, so getting Impaler that priority pick in the jungle. And he's not going to get his hands on that, and that's something I think is a very solid tactic against Renegades, because it's been a problem for every team that's gone up against them. And I talked about last week why I thought Renegades played a lot like Immortals, in the sense that Impaler was aggressive and drawing pressure, then it allowed his team to take turrets, it allowed his team to put pressure on the map. So every death maybe Impaler had invading the enemy jungle, drawing people away from their lanes, meant global gold for the Renegades. It just means they're able to snowball out of control. And their superior laning presence in every single lane means that every small advantage they take an absolute mile with it. Yeah. And then they just run, they get this global gold lead that the enemy team can't keep up with. It's exactly how you see Immortals play in the NALCS. You just have this global gold lead because they're drawing pressure to other lanes, to the jungle, and this global gold lead snowballs into a obviously massive lead for the team, and they end up just winning through superior team gold advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that's kind of the playstyle that's one of the most fun to see as well, because you get to see that early aggression, you get to see the plays being made, and you get to see these teams kind of show off their kind of technical prowess, as it were, their mechanical ability, because you get to see them kind of just run away with the game. But yeah, I think we need to get back on track with what bans have been coming out here. We've got Lulu and Quinn banned out here from, I mean, it's not Pariah and it's not TCA. It is, in fact, the Renegades, and it is, oh, well, I'll let you talk. You're tapping the desk desperately.
I was going to say there was a big decision for Exertus here with that last ban. You ban Kog'Maw or you ban Fiora, potentially. It really depends whether Zergoth feels that he is capable of going up against Alphari's Fiora, or whether Alphari is going to want to pick Fiora here. We have seen first pick Fioras from Renegades quite often, and the fact that Kog'Maw was left open is a huge decision for Exertus to make, because they either give away the Kog'Maw, which is almost unspeakable, or you give away something like the Fiora for Alphari. And this is exactly what you're seeing happen on your screen right now. Yeah. Impaler has prioritized Gragas, and immediately Fiora has gone over to Exertus.
Yeah, and I mean, we saw last week kind of the importance of Fiora when Alphari was solo killed by Only Angel. And I mean, now we're going to see Zergoth playing this Fiora. Obviously, as you say, Gragas is going to be prioritized over by the side of the Banditos, and we'll see kind of how that's going to affect this game, because I feel like this Fiora, especially when you've got Alphari, who is so good at that champion, we'll see how kind of that affects the game here.
Do you know what's really interesting me for Renegades? That if they're not first picking for Alphari, you often see a lot of their first picks for Impaler.
Yeah.
It's always been really Impaler getting the prioritization of pick in the jungle, because they feel that he has maybe the most impact on their game-wide strategy, so he needs a champion that he can function on. So that
I think that, sorry, I'm just interrupted you completely, but I think it's a key part of their strategy as well, because Impaler spends so much time in the enemy jungle. It kind of not only denies jungle camps and denies XP and things, but it also denies pathing for the enemy jungler to get onto that half of the map. So it's kind of him being on a champion that he's good at and comfortable on is so crucial to this strategy.
He needs a champion that he can put pressure 1v1 versus the enemy jungler, and that means that he will require enemies to leave their lane to react to him.
Yeah.
So he needs people to react to him. That's how Renegades function, because they just get so much pressure when people leave their lanes to react to Impaler. And I think, with Gragas, with the buffs, he's become one of those champions that is quite difficult to 1 versus 1 him in the jungle. But it does mean they've given away Fiora here. So I'm interested to see where Alphari goes with his top lane pick, but it is going to be a huge bot lane here for Renegades. This is something that we've seen Renegades run time and time again, and practically 2 versus 2 win their lane solo, basically, against every team that they've played so far. And Yuki's Kalista is monstrous.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I mean, I don't feel like there's a whole lot else for me to say about that. They are just absolutely terrifying. We've seen Hiva do ridiculous things on Thresh, and we've seen Yuki do absolutely obscene things on Kalista. I mean, in the first week, we saw them. They had kind of the 1-2-2 sort of split push setup with Impaler swapping between mid and bot lane, and Yuki could basically just do whatever he wanted. He was like toying with the idea of going with a tower dive when he's playing an AD carry. It's just insane. But we actually have the bottom lane locked in as well for Exertus here, and it's going to be Janna Lucian. Now, not really seen so much Janna in quite a while.
Yeah, Janna Lucian, though, is potentially one of the worst lanes to deal with. As
I thought you were just going to say worst lanes.
No,
I was like, well, you should have locked it in then.
It's one of the worst lanes to deal with. I mean, Janna has a very special sort of place in League that she's generally used as a disengaged champion. Yeah. You very rarely see her in many other compositions because the only tools that she offers is peel and disengage.
She's kind of one of the best in the game at peel.
At peeling for her AD carry. Yeah. But with Lucian, obviously the Eye of the Storm, you buff his auto attacks. That applies to both shots of Light Slinger. And also you get the AD buff to abilities too. So it's very difficult to deal with a Janna Lucian lane, especially as Kalista and Thresh, as long as you're dodging hooks, which is fairly easy as a Lucian, and if you're targeting the Janna, she can always try and self-peel.
She's got that extra movement speed as well.
Yeah, so she can juke a little bit quicker than most players. So it's a very oppressive lane to deal with, and obviously I think Tundra, very competent Janna player. You know, Janna is not... She's got this really awful reputation as being the champion you pick when you have no idea how to play support, because you can just shield your AD carry, but there's a lot more to Janna than that. She's very mechanically intensive when you're looking to disengage. And also it works pretty well against the... engage from potentially the ultimate from Kalista, any engage that Gragas could potentially throw down, and Poppy for that instance, which has made it all the way through to this final rotation of picks and bans.
Yeah, speaking of Poppy, we've got a double Yordle lock-in of Poppy and Corki coming through for the Banditos, which will round out their lineup and kind of give us an idea of this composition that they're trying to run. It looks like that Poppy is going to be going up into the top lane, unless that's going to be a Thresh top, which seems unlikely to me. We have seen it. I believe it was played in competitive play like once ever.
Yeah, potentially a long time ago in Thresh.
I think it was like LPL or something.
Maybe when
someone
Thresh
first
first
came
out. Yeah, and they went Blade of the Ruin King Thresh, and it was kind of interesting. Not competitively viable.
Oh, I don't know. I wouldn't go that far, mate, if I was in the LCS, but... Then again, that probably proves that it's not competitively viable if I would play it. But Special is going to be locking in that victor, and that rounds out our compositions. So let's take a look at these two kind of team comps that we've got built up here. Yeah,
so it's Poppy, Gragas, Corki, Kalista, and Thresh on the side of RNG. Impaler first picking that Gragas, very, very... solid gank pressure, solid early game map pressure, because he's had the buffs to his Q, meaning you get the full 2 seconds slow without having to charge up that barrel anymore. And also you obviously have a quicker charge time on Drunken Rage as well, so you're able to apply that damage more quickly. It's made Gragas' clear speed really, really good, and it's also made him a lot better in a 1v1 as well. So he's a very strong jungler right now, and Impaler prioritizing that is very interesting. Alphari got the Poppy as well, which I think is going to be a key factor here. You can duel Poppy, you can duel Fiora in the top lane, but we will talk a little bit more as we go into game in a second.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a really interesting thing about this one is the Nidalee was banned, because it means that the two junglers kind of have to go deeper into their pool. We know that these guys are both big Nidalee players. We know they love to go for that one. So it kind of allows us to see what else they want to play and what else they kind of want to go with on that one. We do have a quick video for you guys. We did speak to Exertus Esports before the season began, and we'll see how they're feeling heading into this season of the Premiership.
So last season, Exeter did really well. They got into the semi-finals, which is a good achievement. But with this new lineup coming into this season, I think we should at least be expecting to get into the finals and at least have a good go at trying to get first.
I think the lineup that we have right now is considerably better than the lineup we had last season. Last season, we was only really expecting them to keep the 4th place, keep the Premiership spot. This season, we're expecting them to at least reach finals.
I think given how the game has changed from last season into the new Season 6, I think it's definitely changed the pace of the game. And I think it favours teams like us, where we're kind of players that were used to playing long, drawn-out games, but now we have an easier way of closing out the game earlier on. So it'll make our games a lot easier to close out, and I think we can come off with some good wins.
The game now will be a lot more fast-paced, and it's not a 15-minute farm fest and fight for another 20 minutes.
In the promotional tournament, I expect Renegades will be the hardest team by far.
But then again, there are other teams with some relatively unknown talent, which could cause an upset.
Now there's a Challenger Series spot up for grabs in the Premiership, I think the stakes have definitely gone up. And I think everybody will be putting a lot more effort and a lot more practice into the Premiership this season, and it should be really good.
Me and Exertus have been working towards getting a team in one of the biggest leagues in the world. We want our name to be on the map.
The UK Premiership have breathed new life into the UK scene. Ever since Four Nations, things have started to dwindle down and it became stagnant, but with now the Premiership in place, things have revitalised and the future's looking bright.
Right now we have teams who are showcasing talent and what the UK scene can do.
The Premiership's had a good impact on my life. It's been a really good environment for me to practice as a player and grow as a player as I'm trying to get into Challenger Series. And I think it's been the same for a lot of people. I think this season especially, there'll be a lot of really good up-and-coming players looking to showcase themselves in the Premiership.
This esports, and I don't know if you could hear me for that bit, but that is Exertus Esports, and they are obviously feeling confident heading into this one. And I think rightly so, they're confident in this new roster they've managed to build for themselves here.
Yeah, and obviously Tundra has that vocal responsibility you see there. He's very confident in the interviews. He's not overconfident, though, which is very, I think, sensible given the competition that they have to face this time round. It's very tough in the ESL Premiership this season. A lot of good players, and I like the attitude that Tundra took there. You know, he's saying we've got a good team, we can put in good performances, we're going to work hard, and we will make it if we can to the top spot. And you know, with the roster they've got, they're definitely capable. Can go toe to toe with Renegades in every sense of the word, I believe.
Well, you say that, but there's only one way to find out, because they are about to do so. We're just in our load screen, and then we're going to be heading onto the map. But, I mean, this is going to be... I kind of feel sad almost that this is our first game, because this is easily our matchup of the night. This is going to be a map and a half. But ladies and gentlemen, it looks like we are ready to get onto the map and get into our first game of the second week of the ESL UK Premiership. It's Exertus Esports up against the Renegades Banditos. Let's hit the rift.
Yeah, and I didn't get the chance to talk about the team competitions too much because we had the video coming up there during our spectator delay. So I'll just give a quick rundown here as we have some potential level 1 action coming out from Exertus. They're taking a very unique route towards this bot lane, but a very defensive lineup here from Renegades should spot things out. It's a pretty... again, when you have a Poppy, you're kind of running a similar kind of composition that you would be running when you have a Fiora. You always are expecting that split push. You're always expecting both Alphari and Zergoff to maintain a singular split push lane here. And there won't be a 1-3-1 from any of these teams. I think both of these competitions are looking to do similar things. You have fairly good siege with the Corki from the side of Exertus. You can probably leave Alphari to split push. And you have fairly good siege coming out from Exertus too. These competitions are really aiming to do sort of similar things here, but when you come to a straight up 5v5 or maybe even a 4v4 if you're leaving people in that split push role, you're definitely looking at the Exertus line to be stronger. Whenever you include a Victor in a teamfight competition, he's always going to have a greater impact than something like a Corki, who shines more so in smaller skirmishes, catching people out. And with the Thresh, you can catch people out, so there is that pick competition coming out here. But as we get started, the Krug started up by Plex and Zergoff. Yeah,
so it looks like we're going to have a kind of jungler top laner duo start for both of these teams. So pretty standard stuff, really, and both bot lanes as well going to be able to start off with their Krugs and Gromp, as we see the mid laners just kick off the farming over here. But pretty standard start, really. I'm interested really in the junglers for this game. That's kind of my matchup to watch, I've got to say, because I want to see kind of who is going to be the one that's more aggressive, who's going to be the one that's kind of on the back foot for this game. So far, we interestingly actually see Plex going for the Razorbeaks as a second camp. I'm not sure if he gave that first camp up to Zergoff in terms of XP, but not going for that red second, interestingly.
Yeah, so he definitely gave up some experience there, because he should have hit level 2 from that Krugs camp. So he's going to take the Razorbeaks second and actually foregoing red completely and heading over towards his blue side jungle.
Yeah, absolutely. So nice little bit of damage there in the mid lane on to Special. So that's going to be good from K-Draw, just getting that pressure out. And I mean, this is something we've talked about before as well, is K-Draw versus Special on this Corki. Corki typically has a fantastic matchup in most early mid lanes.
Yeah, definitely. But Special on this Victor can go toe-to-toe with Corki, especially if you're trading your Death Ray for Phosphorus Bomb every single time. I was going to talk a little bit about this Alphari-Zergoth matchup because it's something that is kind of a skill matchup, but the later this game goes, Alphari may find it difficult to go toe-to-toe with Fiora, especially when she has that rank 3, rank 2 ultimate. You can see here, those are the trades you're expecting in the mid lane. The damage kind of goes back and forth between the two. It's very difficult for both of these lanes to trade, as Impaler already heading towards that bot lane.
Yeah, tried to get in onto that bottom lane, but going to be able to get away with that one pretty comfortably. Heaver not going to be able to really force the engage on that one, not going to be able to force the issue. And Plex still without that red buff, obviously hasn't decided to go back on himself just yet, so Impaler will have that double buff to fall back on. So that actually could kind of ruin Impaler's day to some extent in a few minutes' time when maybe he tries to go for a counter jungle and that won't have spawned again yet.
See, this is interesting because I think this is potentially part of the strategy from Plex here. He's kind of taken a very unique jungle route. He's thrown his timings off from what you'd expect because they saw him in the top side. They had a ward that spotted out both him and Zergoth doing the Krugs. You would imagine then, without having ward coverage, that Plex would go immediately for that red buff. He hasn't shown on the map yet, so no one knows if he's taken red buff or not. He's delayed that for quite a considerable amount of time and taken away the Razor Beaks, which are generally, as you'd seen from Impaler's previous play, is a camp that he very early likes to go and try and counter jungle because he knows that it's going to stay up for a sort of period of time.
Yeah, that's going to be Caedrel just proccing his Thunderlords with that Gatling gun. When you're playing Corki with Thunderlords, it's literally press E and an auto and you're going to get that proc almost instantly. So it is a fantastic mastery for him to run in lane. But take a look up towards the top lane. Both junglers heading over here. Impaler going to grab that Scuttle Crab. He's not actually committing to the lane, though, as we see potential lane gank coming out from Nocturnal Plex. We'll see if they're going to be able to bait Alphari into this one.
Yeah, Zergoth and Alphari, they've been having a fairly intense and duel-filled matchup in this top lane, as you would expect versus the Poppy and Fiora lane. Impaler sticking around here. He probably senses something's up. Plex making his way through the variety of side lane rushes here. Special taking a lot of damage, but Caedrel also taking a return. And that's exactly like I said. It's kind of whenever Corki steps up to use a Phosphorus Bomb, he is putting himself in range of that Death Ray, and that is something that he's probably looking to avoid. It's going to be very difficult for him to trade as effectively with Special as he would do against other mid laners.
Yeah, absolutely. And Plex is desperate to get this gank going, but he's been waiting around in this top lane for quite some time now. Doesn't want to go back to base, but look at this. The minion wave is stacking up and will slowly but surely push here.
This is something that Plex does quite often when he's looking to gank. He will stick around for an abnormal amount of time. Alphari blocks the jump from Zergoth. Plex comes in.
Oh, the cocoon isn't going to land though. Alphari still taking a lot of damage. Flashes away from that slow. And Alphari going to be able to get away with that one. So Plex, I mean, he gets a flash for his trouble. Is it worth the wait though? That's the question.
It really depends if he can do anything extra from the back of this. You burn Poppy's flash, it's kind of so what unless you can exploit it. And now Impaler, having seen Plex in that top lane, starts this counter jungling spree that we know he is so good for, as Plex continues his time in that top lane, pushing pressure on that top lane turret.
Absolutely. Impaler going to be able to take away these wolves. Let's take a look over towards the bottom lane. We've not really focused on them too much just yet. Toaster starting to fall behind in CS here to Yuki, who is about 15 up at this moment. And that's going to be the power of this Kalista Thresh lane. So much pressure can be put out. And when you just kind of shove these waves underneath the tower over and over, Toaster's been out of mana for quite some time and will in fact have to go back to base here. So looks like they're just going to push yet another wave under the tower. And in fact, Toaster delaying the base. He can't afford to lose these minions.
No, that's the problem. Because Yuki and Heaver push so quickly, it puts pressure on Toaster to stick around in this bot lane. He can't miss an entire wave of minions when he's already lagging 12, 10 CS behind. He could even lose even more as Impaler goes.
Special flashes away from that one. Will be able to get himself to safety. So nice use of that Summoner Smell. And that's going to be Summoner Smell.
Summoner Smell.
That's going to be 2 jungle ganks basically for 2 summoners, 1 on either side. So both of our aggressive junglers that we've talked about really struggling to make that pressure show on the map. But overall, we are starting to see a small lead build up for the Banditos here.
A pinging Impaler who has walked past the pink ward. He will see that pink ward. Oh no, he won't actually. It looks like also Plex walked past the pink ward that Impaler put in the enemy side jungle, and you can see some really good aggressive deep vision coming out here already from Impaler on that blue side jungle of Exerted Esports.
Yeah.
Plex hasn't returned the favor, and you can see most vision here is controlled by the RNG lineup, or RNB lineup rather, as bot lane turret already going down for Yuki and Hiva.
And just look at that CS lead as well. 20 CS now in favor of Yuki. So he's head back to base, picked up a couple of items, and is going to get that recurve bow for himself. So looks to be going for that Hurricane, or potentially actually Blade of the Rune King, I believe, comes out a recurve bow now, doesn't it? So
both, I think both do, yeah. So
both first items, so I honestly don't know which one he's going for, because the Vamp Scepter would suggest Blade of the Rune King, but it could be kind of one of those just so we can stay in lane longer.
Yeah, but I think given the situation they find themselves in this lane right now, going for the early Blade of the Rune King is probably a better option, just because it's a better dueling item.
Yeah.
If he gets caught in a small skirmish, it's far more useful than the Hurricane. Hurricane is great for pushing lanes, so you pick Hurricane up early to push the lanes, and then you just essentially can take towers very quickly, because you're basically providing a form of wave clear that most other AD carries won't have as the Kalista, and lane push that most other AD carries won't have. But again, we're having an immediate rotation here. But Toaster and Tundra putting themselves into what has been a losing matchup for them so far.
Yeah, I feel like right now Toaster and Tundra are kind of putting a lot of, or not so much those two specifically, but Exertus are putting a lot of they're channeling their focus into their top laner right now. They're trying to get this Fiora on the board. They want that 1v1 so that Zergoth can't just be zoned away. And Toaster and Tundra kind of sacrificing themselves to make that happen.
Yeah, and you can see here the wave has fell very nicely for Zergoth on that Fiora. And Alphari struggling.
Impaler goes in onto special in the jungle. That is going to be so much damage out of special, who gets the first blood. And actually Plex has been found as well. Hiva's not going to be able to find another hook though. It's just going to be 1-for-1, but actually Hiva has to walk under the tower, so close. Does flash to safety though. And it looks like he should be able to get away with this one.
Yeah. So again, they've given Fiora a lot of time in that bot lane. That was a crazy engage though. You saw there Impaler maybe not quite estimating how hard it would be to get out of that turret range after running through and using his ultimate. I think he imagined that Cadril would have more burst than he did with just the Sheen there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that was not to be.
Yeah.
And Impaler giving up first blood is actually a favourable trade here for Exertus. Although they've lost pressure in that mid lane, they still have got first blood and a lot of gold now going on to what's going to be a fairly influential part of their team fights going forwards.
Yeah, I really feel like maybe Impaler thought that there was something on cooldown for special there, because it didn't feel like he knew that that full burst rotation was about to come out, and kind of just blew him off the map, quite frankly. I mean, his health bar just got annihilated.
One thing I've noticed from Yuki is that he's playing the Kalista incredibly well, in the sense that the best way to play Kalista is you apply Rend, or you apply stacks of Rend to a minion, and then you get as many auto attacks off onto the champion that you want to apply Rend to also, and then use Rend. So it just instantly resets the cooldown, and you do that consistently over again. You see it here. There you go. He's got that Rend on the minion. He should be able to drop it off in a second, but no, he's going all for an all-in here.
They are indeed, and Toaster's going to get hooked up. That's going to be Impaler picking up the kill. Tundra takes a huge amount of damage as Cadril jumps on in with that special package, and now this is going to be a top lane tower secured for the Banditos. This is going to be their second tower of the game, and they're doing a fantastic job on this map-wide pressure right now.
I feel like this has been the story for Renegades for quite some time, over numerous games. Their bot lane is so dominant in every 2v2 matchup that they are just able to rotate and apply pressure as a duo lane, and no one is able to deal with them. And you'd have thought that if any bot lane was able to deal, with the bot lane of Renegade Banditos, it would be the Exertus bot lane of Toaster and Tundra. Both incredibly good players within their own rights. But it looks now, giving Yuki this Kalista is more than most teams are prepared to handle.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's just a lot down to kind of the way that the Renegades play this as well. They're doing a fantastic job of just allowing this bottom lane to kind of go where on the map they need to be, and like rotating them up to the top lane to grab that next tower, and just kind of making sure that it's Exertus that has to answer for what the bottom lane of Renegades are doing rather than the other way around.
And this is the issue, because Exertus aren't matching the pressure. They want Zergoth to allow Zergoth that time to just farm by himself. They are putting all of their eggs into this Fiora basket. You can see here, obviously, a lot also going over to Victor, but you've given so much time for Zergoth to have solo experience and solo farm without having any impact on the game whatsoever so far.
Yeah.
So this is everything. This is basically Xerxes saying we're expecting Zergoth to be able to 1v1 anyone at some point. So we're going to allow him to farm by himself, and then he's going to have to carry us through the ability to split push.
Yeah, really banking on that split push at this stage, and we'll see whether that's going to pay off later on in the game. But that's the kind of thing that you really... Half of the wave just getting knocked away there by Alphari, denying this tower push. I like that use of the ultimate there. Alphari is going to be scared away, though. Plex heading on through this jungle. Alphari smells a rat and will just bail on out of there. That is going to mean, though, that Toaster should be able to at least get some damage onto this tower. But take a look at the bottom lane. That you've got RNB doing the same to a tier 2 tower.
Exactly, and this is the rotational pressure that you can see coming out from Renegade. They just put Yuki in a lane, and then Yuki in a lane is able to just consistently apply pressure to turrets, and Xerxes just aren't responding to it. There's no way that Zergoth can match a 4-man push in this button, and there's even Special starting to take huge amounts of damage there and unable to return with the Death Ray. And now, RNG, or RNB rather, rotating around towards this mid lane. This is just what they have done time and time again, game after game after game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, they do have to be a little bit careful. Cage Rule completely out of mana, so if they get caught in a full fight, they could be in trouble. But Tundra is the one in trouble right now. Gravity Field goes out. Impaler will be stunned. Zergoth looking for a way into this fight, but he's just not really going to be able to find the angle. And it looks like the hook not going to lead to a kill, but as well, there's no counter kill coming out for Xerxes. Another hook comes through, but the mid lane tower will survive. Yuki gets caught by Cocoon, but Xerxes just don't seem to have any follow-up to anything they managed to land.
They are scared to engage right now because Yuki is such a monster at this point in time. And Xerxes just aren't able to match the pressure. You can see there that the waves and the minion waves tell their own story in the sense that everything is now in Xerxes' side of the court. A Special potentially caught out here.
Special with the flash and the ghost just to get out of that one. Will be able to pull himself to safety, but that was a risky situation right there. I mean, the second you saw Plex start off that blue buff, you were like, this is not looking good. But they will be able to escape. Both summoners now used on a Victor, though. That is bad news right now for Xerxes.
And this is probably the, I guess, most respectful that we've seen RNG play for quite some time. Impaler hasn't been trying to 1v1 the jungler consistently. He's been making plays that have been sensible towards the map. And you see he's obviously had 100% participation in every kill as well. Obviously, the dive in the mid lane earlier may not have been the best idea in the world, but it allowed them to put pressure on that mid lane turret. It pulled a lot of pressure away from the side lanes, allowed Yuki to rotate with Heaver and take that top lane turret. Everything is done for a reason for Renegades. You know, some of the decisions they make may look interesting or slightly odd, but everything they do is to allow Yuki and Heaver to rotate and apply pressure to other lanes.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll see. I mean, let's take a look at the scoreboards right now, because we've kind of got a different scoreboard to what we're used to seeing in a Banditos game right here. As Special going to be able to bully Cage Rule away from that pink ward. We do have pretty much even in the mid lane. We've got a 20 CS lead in favor of Yuki in that bottom lane, which is what we're used to seeing. But then a 20 CS lead almost up in that top lane as well. So it's kind of across the board, aside from junglers, the CS is just about even. So usually we kind of see the Renegades starting to steam ahead at this point in terms of CS and in terms of kind of general gold. And they are steaming ahead in terms of gold with the amount of towers they've managed to take for themselves. But at least we see Xerxes kind of contesting that level of farm. Heaver looking for the Death Sentence, just going to find a spider lane though.
Yeah, they're really looking to get this mid lane tower, but the wave clear from Victor is really strong against the kind of siege that the Renegade Banditos have, but they're scared to step up to this turret just through the fear of a flank coming out from Impaler.
Oh, take a look at this though. 3-man invade coming out. They're looking for Zergoth, who does just about manage to dodge that hook out. Ward will be cleared though, and the Banditos basically take control of this top side of the jungle, take control of this top tower, and find themselves yet another objective. Or do they actually? Tundra on the scene, going to be able to shield that tower in a second as well. The wave clear is there, and nice reaction from Xerxes that will keep the tower alive, but now look at this, they rotate towards the mid lane again.
Yeah, this is a cat and mouse game here, and the cat is Xerxes, and they're just unable to catch the mouse in the form of Renegades, who are just rotating around the map, and they're playing catch-up. They just can't match the quick rotations and the pressure coming out from Renegades, and they're losing tower damage. Yes, the towers haven't gone down, but it's only a matter of time before it runs into the favor of Renegades.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we do see now Exertus heading towards this mid lane with 4 people, so they should hopefully be able to grab themselves their second tower of the game here. But as you said before, they're playing catch-up. A nice explosive cast from Impaler just completely destroys the hopes right there of Exertus of taking this mid lane tier 1 tower. And Exertus once again walk away empty-handed. 2 minutes now until the Baron has spawned, and honestly, Banditos are starting to look just completely in charge of this game. Exertus are just running around trying to chase them down, trying to find anything they can. Zergoth finally starting to get this split push on the go though. Yeah,
Zergoth finally able to pick up that Titanic Hydra, make him very scary to deal with in a 1 versus 1. And actually, you are seeing Alphari avoid the 1v1 with Zergoth at this point in time. He is performing his own split push in the opposite lane, which is actually a very sensible strategy for RNG, because it kind of pulls away from the strategy that Exertus have wanted to imply, which is we allow Zergoth to split, no one can match him, you know, he won't be able to be 1v1. That'll mean that Alphari is unable to stay in that lane, and then we'll win through the split push. But Alphari said, I'm just going to split push the other lane. So I will always be applying pressure. I won't have to deal with the 1v1 from Zergoth. And with this Iceborne Gauntlet, I could probably take turrets just as quickly as Zergoth can. So it's a sensible decision from Alphari. And you saw there, again, the pressure was mounting in that mid lane. They finally get the mid lane turret, which will allow them to move more freely in the enemy jungle. And that is important because it maybe allow them to get vision down and then make picks with Thresh, because that's kind of what Thresh is so good at, especially in the mid game, making picks in the enemy jungle with that hook. And you can see from the vision that was in the red side jungle, has just faded now, they had some good coverage in the red side jungle of Exertus. I expect that to be renewed very soon by Impaler and Heaver, who look like they're heading towards that area.
Yeah, they absolutely do. Tundra going to be trying to get some vision out here, just trying to deny whatever vision he can. Heaver going to be able to clear away that ward with the pink in the river brush, and he's not afraid right now. He's more than happy to start a fight with the likes of Exertus. But 10 seconds until Baron's on the map, and a minute 30 until the Dragon as well. We are going to see Cadril heading on into the map, but I believe special package is going to be, or special delivery, sorry, is going to be on cooldown. So no crazy plays going to be coming. No, he did pick it up beforehand, but didn't really find an opportunity to use it. He used it one time up in the top lane to get onto when they originally took that first tier 1 tower. But take a look at this. We do see special caught between a rock and a hard place, immediately flashing over that wall. Not going to allow that to go down. Heaver trying to land that hook, but Special going to be able to juke that one out. And that will mean that the tier 2 tower here stays alive for just a little bit longer. Special should be able to wave clear this one, but Toaster taking a huge amount of poke damage. And honestly, the Banditos just large and in charge in this game. I don't even know what to say about this performance.
Every time Zergoth rotates to another side lane, Alphari matches and just heads to the other lane. And with the Sunfire Cape and the Iceborne Gauntlet, he can push just as quickly as if you're a special.
Is hooked. That's going to be the box down, but Heaver might just be going down. That is going to be Fate's Call, pulling him to safety. And Toaster is going aggressive. They're looking for Yuki, and they're going to be able to find him. Plex gets that one with a venomous bite. And that is Exertus' lifeline that they've been looking for.
And look at Chandra with these pink wards. He just wants to make sure absolutely no one can see this mid lane where they're trying to push onto this mid lane turret. And again, they burnt the specialist, burnt the flash of special. They thought they could pick him off very quickly, but the burst damage just wasn't there. Got to go respect the Janna shield at this point in time. It is pretty powerful at its 5th level, which is just hit level 9. So the 5th level shield would be available for Tundra. Very good at negating burst. You know, it can keep those carries alive at this point in the game where you're unable to one-shot people. And with a Victor who can very quickly turn things around, it's not like Victor has a lot of, I guess his full rotation doesn't take a lot of time to put down onto the field. As another turret comes down for Exertus, and they're starting to claw this gold lead back here. Yeah,
Zergoth going to be trying to escape this one. He might just be in trouble, though. He's going to go to Cadril, who did use that Valkyrie aggressively. Might be in trouble, but looks like he's got away on that Lantern. Zergoth on his heel, but slowly but surely looks to be going down here. Cadril picks the kill up in the end. But, I mean, tier 1 tower for a kill, I would say that's just about worth it.
Yeah, and again, the gold lead is quite slim at this point in time. It's definitely the closest we've seen Renegades at 22 minutes into the game. Hurricane has just been finished here for Yuki as Heaver gets caught out.
Heaver's been caught out, and suddenly Exertus look to be in the driving seat. Heaver will be going down. Toaster picks that one up in a 1-2-3, and that is going to be the Dragon going over to Exertus.
The early game pressure from Renegades was so good. You know, the lane swap from Yuki and Heaver, they rotated to the top lane. Then they kind of ran out of steam. They took that mid lane tower, had no idea what to do. And again, this is because their strategy with the split push of Zergoth, it's been difficult for Renegades to match it properly, because they just send Alphari to the side lane, but they don't really get anything out of it. They're just de-pushing waves that Zergoth has pushed out originally. And so it's been, you know, Renegades, they took the early towers in the outer towers. Now they're trying to get the inner towers, unable to get through the wave clear of Victor, and they're struggling to make an impact. They don't know where to put their pressure anymore.
This was going to be one of the things I was going to kind of praise Renegades for, is that we're actually seeing somewhat of a different strategy coming out from them. We're not seeing this just go for kills early and then turn that into an unstoppable split push. We're starting to see this more methodical, objective-based gameplay. But, I mean, it was working until this split push came out from Zergoth. And as you say, now they're kind of not 100%. It feels like they're not 100% sure what they need to be looking to do right now. And that is going to be their second dragon coming out. We did see every single time Tundra's on a team, I want to say FM. It's Exertus who didn't want to go for that one earlier.
Yeah, the thing is, they think that they can siege 4-man in this mid lane, but they can't get through Victor. You can't siege effectively versus a Victor with the upgraded death rate, because he will just burn a minion wave in one go. You need Baron, you need anything like that to just to buff the minions up, to give you the time on the turret. Against a Victor, you just cannot walk up to a turret and expect to get free damage on it, because Victor will instantly clear the wave. He has gravity field to put any melee champions away from that turret, and then you've got to respect the burst that champion can put out too. So there needs to be something different here for Renegades.
I think a massive thing is they need to be tankier. They need to get some more items onto Impaler before they can kind of pressure that, because, I mean, how do you, even if you get a hook onto Special, he's going to be underneath that tower. You have to commit to a dive to be able to go for
it's
that.
dive or nothing for Renegades at this point in time. And Zergoth probably finished his Black Cleaver here. A huge power spike with that Titanic Hydra for the Fiora, and it's going to be absolutely massive for him. There you go, Black Cleaver comes down. And I think he's got the Alacrity enchantments here, so the increased movement speed, which obviously synergizes incredibly well with Fiora's ability to proc her vitals. And you see, no one is actually daring to go 1 versus 1 with the Fiora. You see Alphari, we haven't seen
Alphari telling horror tales to his teammates, like, please don't 1v1 the Fiora.
I know this champion, I cannot 1v1. And again, I think the big play here, Munch, is going to be involving K-Draw and that special delivery you can see here. There has to be some form of hard engage, which is very difficult versus Tundra, but the special delivery is one of those mechanisms that you can use to look for that kind of engage that you need.
Yeah, well, I think a key thing here as well is we've kind of seen Exertus to at least some extent take a little bit more control of their own jungle once again. They are going to be, looks like, losing this top lane tier 2. That was already a lot of the work done earlier, so a quick, pretty easy rotation coming out from the Banditos, but a couple more wards coming into this red side jungle from the red side themselves. We'll see whether they can turn this into anything.
Oh my god, Captain Alphari, 1v1.
In the meantime, what? I was expecting that to just be a farm fest out of the bottom lane, but Alphari gets a 1v1.
And this is an issue for Exertus now, because if Alphari can 1 versus 1 Zergoth, then they've got nothing to be afraid of with the Zergoth split push. And this is a Fiora that's hit a pretty solid mid-game power spike as a nice Howling Gale from Tundra saves the life of either himself or Toaster, but Special gets locked up.
Yeah, Special's been caught by Heather once again. We've already seen that before, though. Yuki going to pull his support to safety. That is going to be... In fact, Chaos Storm wasn't even used there, so
no
Victor's still alive, but there's no wave clear now for this mid lane tower. Cullen going to come out, that will deny the minions, and in fact, they're going to start the fight. Look at the damage coming out from Special. They're looking for more as they get one onto Heaver. Impaler going to be knocked up, and he might just be taken down here, but the health bars are incredibly low for Exertus, and Teleport is going to follow Alphari. They're going for Special, and they just blow him up. Yuki picks that kill up, and it's 1 for 1. Zergoth has entered the fray, though, and trades it back onto K-Draw. If he can survive this, then that is a good trade for Exertus, but the rest of his team is so low on HP, they can't really come and help him out here. Maybe Tundra can on that Janna, but actually Zergoth, you want to be a little bit careful here, mate. You don't want to bite off more than you can chew, but that is going to be Exertus taking a 2-for-1 trade all in all.
They had to go hell for leather like that from Special, otherwise they were going to lose yet another inner turret to Renegades. And the interesting thing here is this is kind of going back to the early gameplay that we saw from Renegades, that they had very small positional advantages. They had a double AD comp with the Corki and the Callista. If they were able to get the jump, as in get to that turret before the Victor could, then they should be able to get the damage on it to take it down. And you saw there, they went to the top lane. Victor was not in position to clear the waves. They got the turret. Victor gets caught out by Thresh at that side bush. He was a little bit scared about going back towards the easy way back towards that tower, had to run around the back. That gave him a good 5 seconds of damage onto that inner mid lane turret. It was only the flash engage from Special that kept Renegades from getting that turret.
Yeah, absolutely. Heaver gets knocked up by Tundra, procs the Baron, and will take half of his HP in damage. Looking for a little bit of revenge there, but the hook is going to go wide. And actually, it looks like Exertus are maybe looking to force a fight here. Cocoon comes out towards Alphari, but it will land onto that cannon minion instead. Just look at that wave clear from Zergoth and Special. They can quite comfortably deal with those mid lane waves. And I feel like this is a point in the game where either Exertus need to commit to a split push or they need to commit to a fight. But actually, I don't know if they'll win a fight. This is an interesting push coming out, though. Banditos have kind of been caught in the wrong spot here. Plex going to be tanking up a couple of tower shots for not a whole lot of reason right there.
I think they know. Oh, Tundra.
Oh, Tundra's been caught. This is going to be the fight we were waiting for. Heaver just gets blown off the planet, though. And Plex, they're trying to turn this back around onto him. Rendi's going to be there. The slow is available. Alphari jumps straight on into the lineup. Gravity Field is going to stun up Yuki, who is going to go down. Special grabs one, but he's straight back across. Kajol gets the Grand Challenge and will just have to kite away. Exertus look like they might just have won this fight, but Zergoth, I think he's gone too deep for this one. Does have to back away again.
And Impaler looking like he wants more. It's another 2-for-1 trade for Exertus, slowly bringing these fights back. Again, it's a very difficult team fight to win for the lineup of Renegades because of that Victor, because of the fact that he just does so much damage in a small AoE compartment. There's no way that Renegades can match that kind of team fight prowess that a Victor brings. Yes, Corki is good, but he's not exactly known for his full 5v5 teamfight presence. He's very good in smaller skirmishes, very good at taking towers, good in a 1v1, but you're not going to be able to match Chaos Storm, Death Ray, all those kind of things that Victor brings to the table. They do get the dragon for their merit, but it is only the second dragon in the game. That was not prioritized by either team in the early portions there.
Yeah, well, it's actually the third one.
It's the third,
so
yeah.
A little bit closer to being important. Kind of, well, 12 minutes time. Yeah. If Banditos get the next one, that's going to be pretty much crucial, because if they manage to get that aspect of the dragon, that will be kind of the saving grace for their composition, I feel. Because, I mean, we talked about it earlier, how they had this thing going for them, but then it kind of fell off because of the split push. Aspect of the dragon is a fantastic way to kind of answer for that issue.
Again, that was nice play by Tundra in that last team fight. You saw him get hooked. He just immediately used that Howling Gale. It separated any further engage from Renegades and also put Heaver into the midst of the Exertus lineup, which allowed him to get instantaneously burst down. What's so interesting about having a Victor versus a Kalista is it's very easy to put a huge amount of damage down onto him. Because Kalista likes to get quite up close and personal when she is using her martial poise. You can't cancel those auto attacks. Once you commit forwards, you're going to commit forwards regardless.
Yeah.
And that kind of walks straight into the path of the Victor, using that Death Ray, using that Q, and the Chaos Storm. And it means that she puts herself in dangerous positions. That's the point of Kalista. You sort of have those dangerous aspects of her play in the fact that when you're going forwards, applying Ren stacks, you're always going to be feeling like you're more of a frontline AD carry. That's why we saw the Sterak's Gauge come out for Wild Turtle, because that's kind of how Kalista should be played.
I was literally about to mention Wild Turtle. That's why you see players like that absolutely love this champion, because it is the kind of champion that wants to go for that ridiculously aggressive play. But special delivery going to be used, and he's delivering straight over towards the Baron pit right now. It has been spotted out by a blue ward, and that immediately deters this one from the Banditos, but teleport's been used, and Zergoth just gets absolutely obliterated. Does manage to flash away, but gets hooked right on in by Heaver. And that is going to be a kill for the Banditos. Flash engage comes out onto Special, but they can't really finish off this target. He's knocked up. Still half HP remaining, though, as Alphari looks for more. He gets onto Toaster now, and he flashes over the wall. The kiting has been superb. And now Plex is onto this backline. Heaver finds another hook for himself as Plex manages to repel away. Will finally go down. And all in all, it's a 3-for-1 for the Banditos. They kited well, but it wasn't enough in the end.
I'm not going to lie, that was all Zergoth right there. Why did he continue with that teleport? He put himself right in the midst of 4 members of Renegades, and no one from Exertus was there to back him up. He had to instantaneously flash out. He didn't get the chance to use the Grand Challenge. It was on the back foot from the front of that fight. And that's why Fiora sometimes isn't the best teamfight champion. You put yourself in those kind of dangerous situations. But speaking of dangerous situations, it's Baron with a Victor.
Yeah, let's remember that both of the carries are still up here. But no, it is going to be just the Baron taken away here by the Banditos. So, I mean, we're talking about ways for them to use this composition, ways for them to start rounding out the game. Baron is certainly going to be incredibly helpful in terms of helping them deal with the wave clear out of Special. He's going to have a much harder time dealing with these minions now. But take a look at the build from Special as well, because he's going for the Lichbane Victor here. He's going for some serious burst damage.
Okay, yeah, so this is, again, it's a very good build to deal with people getting up in your face like the Callista, like the Poppy. You wouldn't really be used to using that if you were going to be expecting to be far away from the champions. You would look to go for more of a flat AP build. The Lichbane build is very much in the sense that I will be within auto-attack range of people that I want to deal damage to, so I'm going to have this and just deal the extra damage. It's very good versus a Callista because you know that you're likely going to be within auto-attack range of her when she's trying to apply damage to you. So I like it. Really solid build coming out here from Special. Maybe it'll be the difference in the next team fight where he can just instantaneously burst Yuki, which will be, I think, the biggest thing here as they've dedicated Zergoth into the split push once more.
And the thing is as well, Yuki really doesn't have a whole lot of appeal for him. If they can catch out Kadril or Yuki and lock them up with a little bit of CC, if they have that burst damage available, they're just going to be able to blow them up. There's very little that RNB are going to be able to do unless we see Hiva in a more defensive position. But Hiva typically has been right at the front of the team composition, trying to make these picks, trying to land the hooks. So he's not really going to be in a fantastic position to get those lanterns off. But here we go. The siege has begun up in this top lane, and so far it's doing a fantastic job. Chaos Storm actually used just to try and deter this one. We'll clear away the waves.
Yeah,
we'll keep that tower alive.
That's really interesting to me because now that's a huge tool for a team fight out the window.
Yeah.
The Baron minions are going to continue to come here, and the siege will be that much easier. They will be able to take this turret on the next rotation, and this is what's so good about having Baron versus Victor. Your death rate is unable to clear minions in just one go here, and especially since the Lichbane is there, that's one of the downsides of this build. You lower your AP values, which means you can't clear the waves as easily. You can't defend against the siege.
Impaler's going in though. That's going to be Special, locked up against the wall. The tower's still narrowly alive, but it finally drops. Impaler does manage to escape as the box comes out. Plex so close to going down, and it's going to be Toaster and Tundra both going down. Kadril grabs himself a triple kill. I think it might just have been a double though. Zergoth going to be chased away here. Yuki finds Special. That's 4 men down for Exertus Esports, and Banditos, after having, I'm pretty sure, the longest game they've had so far, are looking to end this one out. Yuki tanking up that first tower. The next one going to be tanked by Alfari. And this is going to be the Banditos taking their game up against Exertus Esports. Zergoth trying to do what he can. Yuki almost killing him on Fountain. But after 35, almost 36 minutes, this is going to be the game. Banditos even looking for kills on Fountains at this point. But there we have it. Banditos now 2-0 in our Premiership. And Exertus going to be going down to 1-1.
Oh, that was